Hey, what's up? It's Miles, a son of God. Um, I just wanted to share just kind of something interesting and kind of like I think some of the thoughts that I may express in a few of my videos that just some things came to mind, right? Um, I know that you know you see at times where people say comments and stuff within videos, and they say that they struggle with sin, and man, first off, everybody does, and I get it though. I understand where you're coming from and where you've felt, and I hope the video that you saw, if you're a guy, you could be a girl too, but um, I hope that that understanding was your first step, man, in really getting some help from God and Jesus in your life, man. So but I want to express and kind of like show of something of like how everybody has within their life their own personal garden, right? And this garden is a garden where it has fruitfulness that can be produced from it, right? But then also within that garden that wells up, there's sin, right? And there's the spiritual aspect of it too, where Satan and you know demons and stuff are trying to get you to go into like the unfruitful areas in your life, right? So just wanted to show a picture. I just drew a picture or whatever of like, let's say like an example, right? Hopefully that comes in clear. Let's say this is like your garden, right? We got in your garden, right? This kind of, actually need to reverse this kind of area, and it's a garden, right? Of maybe different sins. Let's say you struggle in your life, right? But in the middle, right, we have some of the fruits: gentleness, self control, and patience, right? And then to the right of patience, right, wants to get moving. So like a form of impatience, right? You're like always in a rush, and it like causes issues and blah blah blah, right? And then the other one is like watching inappropriate TV shows, right? So let's say, for example, that's in your garden, right? And I wanted obviously to, I did this on purpose, but this big thing that's really dark, this is representative of a really bad sin, right? And why it's a P, form of sexual immorality that a lot of people struggle with, right? That they watch in their lives, right? And let's say the reason why I drew that one so dark is, let's say that one is something that you like really suffer with, right? Now, it is obviously a pretty, bad thing that people go through in their life, right? And let's say it's so prevalent, right, that it really does, that thing affects you, right? But then like near it you got cursing, foul language, or foul jokes, and then above that is anger, right? So when you kind of maybe, let's say, think about it with your own personal garden, you might have all those things surrounding it, right? And I kind of put trees, the fruits ones of self-control and patience, near it, because when you kind of think about it, right, the fruits are kind of the opposing of it. This is the wrestling of the flesh and the spirit that you have going on in your life, right? Well, how do we potentially take care of this? And I want to give you a different perspective, whoever it is that ever sees this, that maybe you should think about a little bit, right? So these things, right, self-control and all this different stuff, they're kind of linked together with like, maybe you have a problem, just every once in a while you get so mad and you end up cursing, and it's connected with anger and all this different stuff, right? It's all connected in some way, right? Well, God and Jesus maybe don't want to cut that down because they're still somehow in a way, right? They're connected within a root level, right? Now, we don't want this to get to a point where those things are so heavy, obviously, within your life that it's a serious problem, right? So, let's say, obviously, this is a glaring problem for you, right? The big P word, sexual immorality, all this different stuff, right? Well, first off, what if, one, you need to have acceptance that, okay, there's things in my life, I still have to give it over to them, but they're not, for some reason, maybe helping me out, right? Well, let's give a little bit of a different perspective of it, right? So, on the picture, right, you got anger and cursing, foul language near it, but they're not as dark and pronounced, right? But maybe you're just thinking, well, it's just not that big of a deal, right? Like, this stuff sometimes happens, blah, 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 right? Well, maybe that's one of the problems, right? Is that when we neglect the actual simple things, that realistically we could maybe give it over to them and let them have it and take care of it, and they do it like that maybe for you, maybe that's the problem, right? So, and if you don't take care of those things, well, it won't be able to reach to the one real big problem that's rearing its head, right? And like, for example, with patience, right? You want, like, a part of that can go to anger, but then you want to get moving, you're always in a rush. Well, are you willing to give that over to them, right? At least to, like, get over and hand it over to them of, like, not being in a rush, so that we can start producing a fruit of patience in your tree, at least, right? Or right, inappropriate TV shows, right? That stuff might lead to anger, right? Because the shows might get you all amped up and jacked up on, like, stuff that you're watching, let's say, that's violent, or that it just fuels anger in you, right? Or there's a lot of cursing, or there's inappropriate sexual things within that show, right? Are you willing to at least give up those two simple things so that you can at least start to take care of the, big thing in your life, right? And maybe that's what you, for anybody, right, that you need to start thinking about. Now, the one important thing, obviously, right, is to be mindful of, like, okay, what are the simple things that I haven't been giving up to them to take care of it and stuff? Like, why am I not? I need to start doing this, actually, right? But then the other thing is, too, that's so important as well within this, right, is that they need to be the ones who are taking care of the garden as well, right? It's not supposed to be you, right? They have to do it through the Holy Spirit, which is the Father and the Son in you. They're gonna do it together within you, right? So, like, you're gonna ask them, right? Hey, I realize now, like, I have a problem with inappropriate, like, TV shows and stuff. I need to start losing the desire of, like, wanting to watch those things, at the least, right? Or to not be as, like, a rushing person, like, all this different stuff. The other thing is that, right, ask them at the least, right? Some way, somehow, maybe they can show it to you in your life. That can happen, actually. I think I've had actual experiences of that too, personally as well. Of, okay, I understand, let's say I got that other big problem that's going on. I'm gonna have to accept that. But what is it maybe at the least, you guys, that we can get taken care of so that we'll get to that, right, eventually? So I hope that makes sense, right? Get the knowledge of what it is that they want you to take care of, right? Get those little lightweight things taken care of, and then maybe, right, because you can get reward for that once we're bearing fruit, right? Then the desire to do that stuff and having a form of self-control and patience and all this different stuff, maybe this is the problem, right? Be also not just willing to give up obviously the big things, right? But the little things really matter too, right? The devil doesn't want to make you think that the little things matter, and sometimes he wants you to just worry so much about the heavy things so that it's distracting you from the little things, right? So I hope that makes sense for you guys. So yeah, I just wanted to give you kind of like that aspect of it, you know, of we need to become knowledgeable too. Like, if you guys have ever heard the serenity prayer, right? This is like the form of it. Like, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference, right? Now, let's get even a little bit deeper into this, right? Let's say that you know that you don't, or that you shouldn't maybe be watching inappropriate TV shows, or you do like the way like of how kind of like you like being a rushy movie person, that's just your energy, blah blah blah, but you do know that it does lead to problems, so you don't really want to give it up, right? Admit that to them, right, at the least, and ask them to give you the desire to do those little things, right? Sometimes the little things, dude, are sometimes actually the most important things, right? Like, let me give you an example of, like, let's say in like in recovery, right? Obviously, doing very, very heavy drugs, the ones that can kill you, right? That's clearly an issue, right? But some people make excuses of, well, since weed doesn't kill me, right? Like, I'll be okay. Well, I know from experience, and I've seen people, right, that if you don't also give up the little weed or whatever, you're gonna go back to doing the other stuff and you're just stuck, right? So this is kind of like that lesson in that type of thing. There are small things that you know that like you could give it up, but you're not willing to for some reason. So admit it. And if you're not even willing to get to that, you need to ask them to give you the desire to have the will to like admit and have the desire and the willingness to repent and like turn from these things, right? It's like, listen, you guys, you're literally, you're giving up your life for God and Jesus. This is the whole point. You're giving up your soul to them, which is a good thing, right? But the cool part is that God and Jesus are within your soul. they're the ones who are supposed to do the healing, right? And so let's finish off with this too. Right? Jesus came, and when he would do healings, it was through God, the Father. That's the one who gave him the power. Okay? And he was healing people with leprosy, blindness, deaf. I believe there was even some people who were mute. Paralytic, people who couldn't walk, right? Physical things. But when you think about it, what is really most important? We want them to heal our leprosy that we have ourselves spiritually, right? So let's say with anger, right? And you get into fights, you're using your fists. This is leprosy. This is death. This is dead now, right? So we gotta start with them within you. They need to heal this leprosy, right? Or in your walk, right? Now, this is just overall, let's say, cultivation of your walk, right? You need to ask them to heal. The whole point is for them to heal you in your walk. Eyes, right? Let's say that's a form of eyes of looking at inappropriate things, right? And it's affecting that so much that it makes you blind, right? You can't see, right? Ears, maybe what you consume within yourself too. Once again, music, all this different stuff makes you deaf, right? So this is kind of like the things maybe that I really think that obviously this plays the role in it, and you have to think about this. You have to think about it in this way, and I think that's why purposely, like, the gardening and like all this different stuff of like why Jesus said this, because this is like part of the way of like how God takes care of it, right? So I don't know, just figured I'd want to give that to you guys and that kind of message. I know it's late, but I get off work late, so, and I'm up at this point for a few more hours, so hopefully whoever sees this, hope it's fruitful for you. I'm Miles. I'm a son of God, brother to Jesus. Y'all have a good one.